Well, hello. Do you ever feel like no matter how much you earn, it's never really quite enough? You're in the right place to find out how to change that. Hello, Sigrid de Cast here, strategic marketing and visibility specialist. And I have this big vision to have entrepreneurs, women in business showcase their offers, their services, and their expertise across the globe in a virtual expo, a trade shows where clients come to you without you leaving home. And so I have invited Nancy Ward, financial coach and exhibitor at the Mind Body Business Virtual Expo coming up in May. I've invited Nancy to share her expertise, her fresh, practical approach to managing personal and business finances. Welcome, Nancy.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's great to have you here, and I'd like to draw on your expertise and also on that experience that you have when people do earn well in their business. Sometimes it takes a while to get there, and then they are bringing in money, but somehow at the end, when they're looking at it, it's not all there. That's really what you are supporting people in business with.
Yes, yes, I am. And it's interesting because we get so busy with our day-to-day lives, whether it's our family or our business, we just avoid looking at the at our bank account or our credit card receipts. Really is what it's more of, because we're always checking our bank accounts online, but are we really looking at and reconciling things? Because gone are the days of the checkbook, and we just take for granted we have money and swipe and go.
And Nancy, the interesting thing is, if we're looking at the whole picture, when we start in business initially, we do often have big visions and understanding that I can make more money in my business than I perhaps can be earning, or I know better how to make more money than what I'm earning. And this initial setup often does lack the planning for how to move forward. In your experience with the people you're working with, is that something you come across? Is it because they lacked the planning initially when they started in business?
Sometimes it is, but there's a lot of us who might be working in the corporate realm on a day-to-day basis, and we're looking for that extra opportunity to make a little bit of extra money. Or maybe you're involved with a direct sales company and say, I love this product, I might as well sell it and I get paid for it. So a lot of us, let's call them solopreneurs, because obviously as you get bigger in your business and you're hiring people, you've got to get the business credit cards and the bank accounts and so forth. But a lot of us who are starting up new businesses or just having a small little business side hustle on the side, what ends up happening is that people like to use their personal credit cards for the business. And let's just take direct sales, since I think a lot of people understand it. You have your home parties and so forth. A lot of the women get into it because they've got the extra time, they've got the network, and they love the product. And what better way for women to sell to women is with direct sales. But when every 6 months, 3 months, products come around and you're like, oh, I got to get the new products to show my samples off at my parties, what ends up happening is that you're putting that on the personal credit card because you don't feel like you're big enough in order to have a company credit card. And also too, with a bank account, you might be charged $10-20 a month for a business bank card, and you're like, well, wait a minute, I'm just doing this for fun, I'm getting some extra money, this isn't my full-time income, I really don't need to go to that next step. So what I do suggest for people who are doing either those side businesses or direct sales or anything that, like I said, you're not ready to have an accounting department yet, and you're not ready to move to that next step of having business accounts, is either to have a separate credit card. And a lot of us do have multiple credit cards. If you've got a credit card you're not using from time to time, use that as your, hey, I'm going to pay for my email system, and I'm going to pay for my website, I'm going to pay for my networking events with this one credit card. So at the end of the year, when you reconcile everything for your business and you might be working on your taxes, depending on where you are in the world, uh, you're going to have all of those transactions right there in one account, one credit card. And you're thinking, that's great, Nancy. That's not what my life is right now. That's okay. Because what you can do is you can take those statements. I know we seem to be a paperless society, but print them off, take your highlighter and highlight them. You might have a small business and you might be a representative for a vitamin company. Take two colors and highlight those different transactions so then you can track it. Maybe pull them off and put them on a sheet of paper or in a spreadsheet so you can keep track of it. Same thing as the money that's coming in. You might get your commissions or you might get paid. You might be doing a side business, and every 2 weeks you have to turn in your billing and you get money coming in. Same thing. So as long as you track that correctly, it is something you can put on your taxes if applicable, but also too, it really starts to pull the two things apart, which is your personal and your business expenses and income.
And that is such an important point. I love that you have raised that because it applies to the business world as well. Even if you have just the one business and you are fairly set up with what you do, we do often, I know myself, I have, use a personal credit card to put expenses on and to making sure that you separate that correctly so that you can claim or put in your tax bracket the right amounts for the right things. That's really important. I think what I like about that as well is you're talking about tracking it. That is often something, and I think I'm not speaking out of order here. Women do that quite often. They are not tracking. They kind of see the wonderful money coming in. I feel really good, it's all there, but they're not keeping a track of where it came from, where it's going, and often expenses are not really accounted for, I think. Um, I'm curious, Nancy, did you come to work in this area, go into this direction because of personal experience, or is this something you've always wanted to do and you focused on being a financial coach right from the get-go going into business? Tell us a bit more about your beginnings.
Well, a little bit of both. Interestingly enough, I always loved math. I loved crunching the numbers. I loved helping people. I've just taken all of those younger age attributes and I've pulled them into where I'm at right now. But yes, to answer your question, what before I got married, I had $40,000 of personal credit card debt.
Wow.
And yeah, because back in those days with our direct sales companies, people would pay with cash and check. And I would just use my credit card to send the money to the company to pay for the products. So the whole show would be sent out to the hostess and, those drills. And I didn't realize as I was looking at, I wasn't doing any tracking. And kind of fast forward as a financial coach, I pulled up those old statements from 2000. Yes, 2000, not 2010, 2000, because I was interested in to see what were my habits back then and why is it so different now. And I looked at that and just saw every single month I'm paying money on top of money. And back then I had 9.99% credit cards. And I know you're all going, oh, I'm so jealous of you because right now my credit card's 24.99%. And that's the thing is that by not paying off your credit card statement on every cycle, you're paying an extra 24 to sometimes 35% extra payments just to have the courtesy of not paying it on time. If you really think about it, and I'm sure you've heard about our American culture of tipping ever since the pandemic, and people are just fed up with it. And then when I tell my clients, I said, you're kind of tipping you're kind of tipping everybody when you're not paying that 24%, when you're adding on another 24% every single month and you didn't get anything for it. It is just for the convenience of you having an open credit card.
Yeah.
And I think that is definitely an awareness that people aren't thinking about. They're just, like I said, swiping and go. Oh, I've got the money in the account. I'll just pay my minimum payments. They may not even have that big goal, whether it's their business goal or whether it's their personal goal to get out of debt. They just want to keep going because, again, life is going so fast for them. They're not taking the time to look at the numbers and realize I need to make some changes.
And I think you've touched on a really important point. Habit. I mean, habit is in everything we do, whether we realize
Yes.
it or not. And I think just like with any other habit, the whole financial area can become a habit, a good habit to get out of what's happening at the moment. I mean, credit cards and paying with credit card is a whole nother topic. We could open this big, book of bringing all these scenarios out, and we might just do that at some point in time because it is a very important area and it is across the world, whether the credit card payments, the repayments, whether they are higher or not quite so high that what you are experiencing at the moment, it still is an obstacle when you are not, as you said
Yes.
earlier, tracking things. But let's leave the credit card as such aside and focus on the habits perhaps, because I would imagine as a financial coach, you will come across your clients, the people that you work with, that it is a habitual way of using the credit card. I'm just going to pop it on there and not having that consciously in the forefront of their mind. Getting out of that, what is one really great tip that you would have or way that you work with somebody to getting out of that? Is it something that is really difficult to do, or can you help them get out of this habit of, I'm just going to use my credit card?
There are some habits that you can have, but even relating this to people with their businesses, what's ending up happening is you'll say, "Oh, I can do this because I can write it off on my taxes at the end of the year. Oh, I'll have a lunch with my friend and talk about my business, and I'll write it off at the end of the year." So we keep on charging and charging, and we might not be using the things or having the full value of it. But keep in mind, you have to have income
Hmm.
from your business in order to cover those costs.
Hmm.
And number two is that you want to have the most important things be charged in your business. Because again, based on what you're paying, you might go back to you're making more, you're charging more than you're making. That can still apply to your business. If you're a starter business and you're putting all these things into play, and oh, I got to sign up for this software, and oh, I'm going to spend this much money on being a premium LinkedIn member, those types of things where these costs just add up, and if you're really not paying attention, that's where it comes down to. So even I with my personal clients, I don't really like to work on the budget because that's so easy for anybody to go on eBay, Etsy or Google and get that. But kind of when you're in a business, kind of put yourself on a budget and say, I'm only going to pay for my Zoom subscription, my Canva subscription. Where are those costs that I can cut? Is
Hmm.
it worth me spending the money for a third party vendor to help me out with something, having a designer do some work for you where so you can spend that other time
Hmm.
doing the things that are really important in your business versus, yeah, I'm okay with Canva, I'm not the best, but if I could just pass it on to somebody, pay them the hourly rate, that leaves me more time in order to focus on other things like sales or networking or money making activities.
So, what I'm hearing you say, and I find this very interesting, this what we sort of maybe call traditional budgeting, where you have to have all the things mapped out and everything, is not necessarily the best way. We can do that much better by looking at really what is something we need and really want
Right.
to have pay or paying for, have the money to be paying for, and what is something that's not there. So kind of using a new word or way of looking at it, way of thinking of it, rather than saying here's my spreadsheet, this, that is sort of a little bit, I'm not, I don't like really to say outdated, but it's just a different way of thinking, a different approach, isn't it? So you're much more, as I would call it, practical. This is what you have, and this is what you need. And which of these two is really what you want to pay for and how much you want to pay for? That's how I understand it, Nancy. Would you go along with that?
Yes, and I have a lot of analysis in my system. Have always loved numbers. Took statistics in college. I don't ask me, I don't know. It was just another class that I could take, and I'm like, oh, that sounds good, statistics. But I guess I look at it as like the budgeting is more restrictive. Oh, I can only spend $100 in groceries a week. Well, guess what? What if you have some family members coming over and you're going to have a nice huge spread? You have to buy more than $100 worth of groceries. And then you're kicking yourself and going, oh, I feel so guilty. I spent so much money. But what I look at is when I'm working with my clients is looking at the past. So even if you're a business owner, it is March, almost April. So no matter what, you should be looking at your finances on a monthly or at least a quarterly basis and take that time and say, what have I spent in January and February and almost all of March? What did I spend money on? Was it efficient? It's you taking the time to look at it in the past versus like
Mm.
close to dieting. Well, I can't eat any more Oreo cookies anymore. I got to cut that out of my diet. Well, no, it's in moderation. Same as, oh, well, I needed this for my business. But did you really? But let's look at it and say, okay, I realize that I'm going over to the office supply store, and every time I go in there, I'm buying another $30 worth of supplies. Well, first of all, stop going to the office supply store. Buy it online, just like we, here in the United States, we can buy our groceries and then go pick it up or have it delivered. So then you stop the impulse spending.
Yeah.
So that might be another thing too, where the business owners are so excited about their business that
Mm.
they want to spend, 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 and then they wonder why they don't have a profit or have a good draw when the time comes and when they need to take the money out.
Yes, I think that is a certainly in the early stages of business, and like you say,
Yes.
you go to the office supply stores and you have all these wonderful colors of, or of pens, pencil, whatever, lovely. They all assorted, looking there, looking at you and saying, "Oh, buy me, buy me." That
Buy me,
can
buy
be a
me.
huge temptation. I agree with you. So really working through what do you need and what do you not really need and what's additional. So tell us about your unique financial journal. You gave me that
Yep.
little secret about a financial journal. I was really interested what you have.
Yes.
Fantastic. Tell us about.
Well, again, going to working with my clients, I realized that, like I said, budgeting. You want a budget, you go get one. Because I love spreadsheets, but I'm not good at designing them. There's plenty of people that are out there. And on top of that, your phone can actually give you your credit cards can give you some spending information and so forth. But on the whole, the other question is that what is your credit score? People don't even know what that is. So I talk about that in this journal. I educate them at the same time, having them document it. What is your credit score this month? Hey, you might get an email from your credit card that says, hey, your credit score's changed. Check out why. Did you take out more credit? Did you pay down a bill? Things like that. If you said, oh, yeah, I need to go get I need dental work, and that's another $2,000 on the credit card, all of a sudden the credit bureaus are going, whoa, 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 what'd you do? What'd you spend money on? We're going to reduce your credit because it's your, it's your, I just had it in my brain and it just left me.
Yeah,
But
no, you're excited about it. I can hear it because you really know what you're talking about it, and thoughts get away with us. I have the same thing. If we don't have top of mind what we are actually
yeah,
doing,
right. So it's like your report card for your finances. Let's think about that. Now,
that
if you think about back when you were in elementary school and high school, do your report cards matter now? No. But that's basically your financial card, and that's how people will see whether or not you're credit worthy. It also has inside of there, write down those credit cards. How much do you have in debt? You don't even realize it. Well, what about the one loan that you have to your mom or anything like that? Put it all down and see it in paper. When you look at it in paper, you're like, holy crap, I've got to make a change. This has just got to stop. I can't believe how much I'm spending in minimum payments a month. And that's coming out of my paycheck or my business profit. Every month I'm paying this over and over and over again. And then it goes a little bit more deeper into the credit card so you can see the trends and so forth. And the best part of this is that at the back section, every single month, you have activities every single month in order to look at everything. What have you put your categories in and so forth? And what I find that's so important because like I said, you're doing some data analysis, you're doing some trending, and you're looking at it going, okay, on average, I'm spending about $500 on groceries. Okay, that makes me feel good. But why is it this one month I spent $1,000? Oh, I also went to Costco or Sam's or one of those other places and spent $500. Did I buy food? Did I buy furniture? Did I buy luggage? I have no idea. So it's you're making yourself accountable to yourself because you're the only one that can make that change. And again, as we talked about the habits, you're the only one that can change those habits. Eat those Oreo cookies when you go to a friend's house and have one or two of them, but don't have them, don't buy them, don't have them in your house. And you, like I said, don't go to the office supply store if you have impulse problems. But that's where it comes down to. So in writing, you're seeing trends and you're seeing, wow, I need to make a change. And guess what? I'm not telling you to stop drinking your Starbucks, or I'm not telling you to get rid of your Netflix. I am opening up the doors of data for you to go, okay, family, we want to go on this wonderful vacation. We need to save money. We need to cut these expenses out because we're spending too much at this place. So it's also a nice conversation opener.
And it's certainly the same in the business. It's exactly like that. It runs alongside, what am I spending on? Do I really need this email marketing program right now? Or can I, use an alternative one and so on? I would imagine that really showcases it, really highlights it when you are
Yes.
keeping a journal. I mean, journals are the thing for our, mindset for all sorts of other areas. So having a financial journal, I think it's fantastic. Where can we get hold of it, Nancy? Where can we grab?
Yes, you can go to weeklydebtplan.com/store and you can check out the journal plus anything else that you'd like to take a look at. And I've got a lot of PDF downloads as well. So different resources that you can take advantage of. I even have a tax ready kit for entrepreneurs. So again, one of those, let's look at the categories and see what's the best, keeping track. Also, the information that you have is going to give you education.
Yeah, fantastic. No, that is a wonderful insight into how we can take a fresh approach, a really practical approach to managing finances, to have smarter money strategies for both life and business, and fixing those financial leaks with our financial coach, Nancy Ward, today. Now, Nancy is going to be at the May Mind Body Business Expo, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of your resources inside your expo booth, which is a fantastic opportunity to showcase them and for exhibitors and visitors to the expo to come and grab them and get hold of them. So wonderful talking to you, Nancy. Looking forward to have more of the details from you. And of course, seeing you inside our expo coming up soon. What are your parting words, Nancy, for today? Just
small,
come and
yeah, small steps make big changes.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I'm going to have to record that. Small steps make big changes. Thank you so much, Nancy.
Thank you for having me today.